In the early 2000s, my then boyfriend and I found ourselves navigating the process of establishing a shared apartment in northern Kentucky. Due to our credit history, our options were limited to locations within the area. The primary motivation for this move was to accommodate his 2 children when they came to visit. His daughter needed her own bedroom, and we also desired a dedicated office space for him to work remotely during challenging winter months when traveling back and forth became hazardous. After reviewing the model apartment in a complex, we committed to a 12-month lease and were scheduled to do a walkthrough before officially moving in. However, on the day of the walkthrough, I found myself running late and called my then boyfriend to inform him. With the need to pick up my son from daycare, I realized I wouldn't make it in time. Reluctantly, my then boyfriend agreed to handle the walkthrough and called me, expressing his displeasure at having to deal with it after a long workday. I received a call from him as he was on his way to the apartment. Unbeknownst to me at the time, the apartment manager, a slightly balding blonde man with a small frame, greeted him. It became apparent that the apartment manager had a significant crush on my then boyfriend, contributing to my boyfriend's annoyed attitude during the call. As I left my son's daycare, my phone lit up and vibrated intensely. Answering my then boyfriend's call, he anxiously inquired about my whereabouts and well-being. I explained that I was still at the daycare, eliciting a sigh of relief from him. He instructed me to meet him at the apartment office as soon as possible. Upon arrival, I was greeted by an unexpected scene. 2 cop cars in the parking lot, and both my then boyfriend and the apartment manager engaged in conversation with the police. Apparently, upon entering the apartment, my then boyfriend found himself in the doorway when another resident called out to the apartment manager with an issue in their unit. My then boyfriend was in the process of inspecting the kitchen and taking notes when this occurred. In the midst of my boyfriend's walkthrough, he thought he heard the shower running. Pausing his inspection, he called out a greeting, and a tall, dark-skinned man appeared, assuring him to wait for a moment. The shower abruptly turned off. Sensing something amiss, my boyfriend switched on the hallway light, revealing the man rushing into the doorway, clutching an item. Fortunately, my boyfriend's imposing stature seemed to startle the intruder, who swiftly darted to the other side of the room. A loud thud echoed, catching my boyfriend's attention. At that moment, the apartment manager entered, and both men exchanged incredulous glances. Their shock intensified as they witnessed the intruder escaping through a side door leading to the basement storage area, exploiting an unlocked window to make a quick and uninjured getaway. Reacting swiftly, the apartment manager and my boyfriend pursued the intruder, with the manager urgently dialing 911, informing them of the ongoing chase and the potential threat posed by the armed burglar. Despite their efforts, by the time the police arrived, the homeless man had vanished. Investigations later revealed that he had broken into a locked storage area, using the basement's warmth as a shelter for at least 2 weeks. The storage spaces were conveniently located near the communal washing machines and dryers accessible to all residents. The police surmised that the intruder had observed workers entering our apartment for painting and, taking advantage of an open window, had gained access. A crucial detail emerged when my boyfriend's timely interruption of the intruder's shower revealed a cut screen, possibly made with a knife. Further inspection of the storage area yielded a 6-inch knife likely dropped by the intruder during his escape. Found amidst discarded items were 2 pay stubs from a nearby temporary work agency, providing a glimpse into the man's recent activities. The evidence suggested that he had been living in the storage area for a significant period, posing a potential threat to the unsuspecting residents of the apartment building. Hearing the unsettling events recounted by my boyfriend and the police, we promptly made the decision to cancel our lease. Thankfully, the apartment manager was understanding of our situation, and we quickly moved into another apartment in an area closer to my workplace at the time. Fortunately, nothing of that nature ever occurred again. Over time, my life took different paths, and I now reside in a different state. Reflecting on the incident, I can't help but wonder about the potential outcome if I had been present with my 3-year-old son. The experience left a lasting impact, prompting me to be vigilant about checking windows and doors. I've become an advocate among my friends, advising them to avoid ground floor apartments. For context, I am a guy, and this incident took place when I was 20. In another chapter of my life, one night around 11:30 p.m., I found myself in my apartment within the complex I used to reside in. I had just finished showering and was in the process of getting dressed when my routine was disrupted by a notification on my phone. The security camera outside my window revealed an unknown man, seemingly in his late 20s, standing there, holding a gun. Panic set in, and without wasting any time, I hastily put on my socks, shoes, and jacket, neglecting my pants, and swiftly left the apartment. I closed and locked the door quietly, avoiding any attention from the armed man. Making my way down the hallway, I reached one of the side doors to exit without being seen. Running as fast as I could, I sought refuge in an abandoned building. Throughout the escape, I kept looking behind, fearing the armed man might be chasing me. Fortunately, he was not. Upon reaching the abandoned building, I immediately called 911, providing them with all the details, including my location. It was a cold winter night, and I anxiously awaited their assistance. Is separated by a fair distance, providing a sense of privacy and security. The incident, however, shattered that peace, leaving me almost a mile away from my apartment in the freezing cold. After approximately 10 minutes, a police car arrived, and I eagerly hopped in, recounting the harrowing experience to the officer. Upon returning to the complex, I led the officer to my window, only to find the armed man still standing there. The officer, displaying remarkable composure, instructed the man to step away with his hands raised. Surprisingly, the man complied, leading to his immediate arrest. As I got closer, I recognized him as a former coworker who had been fired. It dawned on me that I had video evidence on my phone of him assaulting a female coworker, an incident that had led to his termination. During the confrontation, the man confessed to his sinister intentions, admitting that he planned to wait for me to open the curtains before smashing the window and carrying out a violent act against me. He was taken away by the police, making empty threats as he departed. Fearing for my safety, I promptly went to the courthouse to issue a restraining order against him, ensuring that he could no longer approach or contact me in any way. Since then, I have not seen or heard from the man. I sincerely hope he receives the help he needs and refrains from endangering others. Reflecting on this unsettling chapter of my life, I share the story as a reminder of the importance of vigilance and personal safety. While the details of what unfolded may never be fully understood, I am grateful for the swift response of law enforcement that night and the subsequent legal measures taken to protect myself. I live in a building with 4 different units, 2 on one side and 2 on the other. My bedroom window faces the other apartment building, which has a challenging atmosphere. The apartment to the left is occupied by a woman who is often intoxicated, singing and yelling to herself. On the right, there's an apartment with an abusive boyfriend who periodically subjects his partner to violence. The entire place is filled with drug dealers, swingers, and generally people with questionable character. It's safe to say that this area is somewhat ghetto. The story revolves around the abusive boyfriend, a saga that began 7 years ago. One day, while I was in my bedroom playing a game on my computer, I heard intense screaming and yelling from their apartment. This was not an uncommon occurrence. But on this occasion, it escalated to the point where the woman started screaming for help, accompanied by what sounded like slaps. Concerned for her safety, I immediately called the police. When the officers arrived and investigated, they returned with a dismissive response, stating that everything was fine and advising me to call back if it happened again. A few days later, the girlfriend's mother appeared at my door, tearfully inquiring if I had seen her daughter recently. She explained that she couldn't find her anywhere and shared her knowledge of the abusive relationship. Despite the mother's efforts to convince her daughter to leave the boyfriend, the situation had not changed. Sadly, the mother remains unaware of her daughter's fate, and all we can do is hope for her safety and that she eventually leaves that toxic relationship. My name is Summer, and this incident occurred about a year ago when I was 21. Despite intending to share this story sooner, I admit to my own procrastination. I'm of a petite build, standing at 5'5", and I reside in a city in Indiana that has a reputation for being dangerous, with issues ranging from crack addiction to SWAT team raids and murders. This environment sets the stage for the unsettling events that unfolded in my life. Chose to dismiss the feeling and enjoy the night. The Riverwalk, adorned with the glow of winter lights, created a serene atmosphere. We decided to extend our adventure, looking for electric scooters to ride around downtown. It was around 10 p.m. when my friend arrived. Embracing the winter weather, we bundled up and ventured outside. To provide some context, my apartment building is situated along the Riverwalk, enclosed by a security gate. Beyond the gate, a lengthy sidewalk runs beneath a bridge, passing an ice skating park and various restaurants. On one side of the sidewalk is the deep river, and on the other side are buildings. Our plan was to stroll along the Riverwalk, find electric scooters, and enjoy a relaxed evening. As we reached the ice skating park, we decided to indulge in a joint. Aware of the legal implications, we tried to appear nonchalant as a cop car drove by. Surprisingly, the officer seemed oblivious to our activities and continued without intervention. Relieved, my friend and I continued our stroll, unaware of the events that would unfold. Walking by the skating rink, the tranquil ambience added to our enjoyment. However, a subtle sense that someone else was nearby began to creep over me. Wanting to avoid appearing paranoid, I chose to dismiss the feeling and focus on the pleasant night with my friend. Little did I know, a series of unexpected events was about to unfold, altering the course of our evening. We don't know where you can find free Wi-Fi either. At this point, my anxiety heightened, and I realized that this situation was becoming increasingly unsettling. We maintained our pace, but the man persisted, now asking if we had any spare change. Irritated and alarmed, I sternly replied, "No," while my friend, in a more compassionate tone, apologized and said we didn't have any change to spare. The man seemed to accept our responses, but instead of veering away, he stayed behind us, making me uneasy with every step. As we approached a more populated area, I hoped that his presence would deter him. To my dismay, he continued following us, seemingly undeterred by the increased foot traffic. Now thoroughly alarmed, I weighed our options. My mother's words echoed in my mind, emphasizing that my safety was paramount. Unable to shake off the feeling of impending danger, I decided it was time to confront the situation head on. Turning around to face the man, I firmly told him, "You need to leave us alone. We're not interested, and we don't want you following us." My friend, realizing the severity of the situation, echoed my sentiment, urging him to go in a different direction. Finally, he backed off, disappearing into the night. We quickened our pace, watching over our shoulders until we were certain he was gone. The incident left us shaken, and we decided to cut our evening short, retreating to the safety of my apartment. Reflecting on the unnerving encounter, I couldn't help but think about the importance of trusting one's instincts and being assertive in situations where personal safety is at risk. The memory of that night has stayed with me, a reminder to always prioritize vigilance and take decisive action when confronted with potential danger. To the other side of the street, and I practically threw her under the bridge. Adrenaline pumping, I fumbled for my keys to unlock the security gate, not daring to look back. We scrambled up to my apartment, locking the door behind us. Panting and terrified, we peered out the window to ensure we were safe. The man had disappeared, but the fear lingered. I called 911 and reported the incident, providing a detailed description of the man. The police assured me they would patrol the area. The night had taken a sinister turn, and the sense of vulnerability weighed heavily on us. In the aftermath, my friend and I debriefed about the terrifying encounter. The fear in her eyes mirrored my own, and we vowed never to take our safety for granted. That night taught us the importance of trust, quick decision-making, and the reality that danger could lurk in even the most familiar places. The incident prompted me to reevaluate my surroundings, invest in self-defense knowledge, and remain vigilant. The memory serves as a stark reminder that even in seemingly secure spaces, it's crucial to be prepared for the unexpected and prioritize personal safety above all else. Instagram and comment about how much he enjoyed the pictures he took of her without her knowledge. After my incident, I became extremely paranoid about going out alone. One day, while walking to my car, I noticed a man following me. I quickened my pace, and he did too. I decided to change directions, and he followed suit. My heart raced as I realized I was being stalked. I darted into a nearby store, and thankfully, the man didn't follow me inside. Terrified, I sought help from the store employees and called the police. They arrived promptly and escorted me safely to my car. The man had vanished, leaving me shaken and grateful for the assistance. From that day forward, I took extra precautions, constantly checking my surroundings and varying my routines. The fear lingered, and I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that someone was always watching. Though I moved away from California, the trauma of that experience stayed with me, serving as a stark reminder of the importance of personal safety and being vigilant in unfamiliar or potentially dangerous situations. Building and leave notes on my car saying that he was watching me. Even when I moved to a different location, the situation escalated and I felt trapped in a cycle of fear. Desperate for help, I reached out to law enforcement again, hoping for intervention and protection. Unfortunately, the response remained consistent with previous experiences: indifference and a lack of action. The frustration and anxiety I felt were exacerbated by the system's failure to address the threat posed by this individual. His manipulation extended beyond personal encounters to the online realm, where he utilized social media to torment me and my friends. The constant posting of explicit content and threats created an atmosphere of perpetual distress. Despite the efforts to remove the content, he persisted, exploiting the vulnerabilities in the system. His ability to manipulate legal outcomes was particularly unsettling. Despite documented charges and a history of assault, he managed to have his felonies expunged, allowing him to pursue a career in psychiatry. The thought of him having access to vulnerable individuals in a professional setting intensified my concerns. Private events became arenas for his unwelcome presence. He would appear uninvited, silently observing from a distance, leaving me uneasy and disturbed. His persistence in trying to communicate, coupled with explicit threats to my friends, led me to take measures to protect myself, including obtaining a taser. The situation was relentless, with him continuing to loom outside my apartment building, leaving ominous notes on my car, and making disturbing statements about watching my every move. The fear and anxiety became constant companions, affecting every aspect of my life. The systemic failures, both in law enforcement and the legal system, highlighted the challenges victims face when dealing with persistent threats. Despite ongoing pleas for intervention and protection, the lack of effective action left me feeling vulnerable and exposed. The experience underscored the urgent need for reform in addressing stalking cases and protecting the victims from those who manipulate the system to perpetrate harm. I'm truly sorry to hear about the traumatic experiences you've been through with this individual. It's disheartening to learn that the system failed to provide the protection and justice you rightfully deserved. Stalking and harassment are grave offenses with lasting impacts on victims, and your stories underscore the urgent need for stronger measures to address such cases and safeguard individuals from ongoing threats. If you ever find yourself in immediate danger or need assistance, please don't hesitate to contact local law enforcement or seek help from support organizations specializing in stalking and harassment cases. Your safety is of the utmost importance. Thank you for sharing your stories, and I hope that by raising awareness, we can contribute to the ongoing discussion about the crucial need for effective measures to combat stalking, harassment, and violence. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and take care.